multi-billionaire friend of Mark Brantley. Now, Straight Talk cannot confirm whether or not Brantley's law firm has any special interest in this development, but people are threatened and bullied, I'm told, by Alexis Pepperseed Jeffords. They are all threatened and bullied to leave their homes. Pepperseed reduced one home owner to tears and another to a near mental breakdown. And this is frightening. This is frightening because people are not being told what the alternative. People are not being told of the alternative that they have. But this multi-billionaire who holds citizenship for 3 or 4 different countries, we are told, is not interested in buying or funding the relocation of homeowners in Nevis. All this multi-billionaire is demanding of Brantley is 1,500 feet of runway space so that he can land his private jet on Nevis.
Nevis has a substantial number of very wealthy people who have homes here, many of whom own private jets. They would like to fly directly into Nevis, get in their vehicle and go home. Instead of that, they're forced to fly into St. Kitts because of the inadequacy of the runway in particular.
So Mark Brantley, meanwhile, we are told, has offered this multi-billionaire an option to lease the airport for operating a fixed-base operations, as we call them, the FBOs. And the FBO, we understand, would include commercial enterprises offering services to charter travelers, crew members, and private pilots. Also providing services like hangar space, fuel, aircraft maintenance, and parking, apron parking. But lest we forget that Brantley signed a concession agreement with B&L Worldwide Limited on February 6, 2019 to transform the Vance Amory International Airport into an international airline hub. The proposal to lease RLB International was first brought to the federal cabinet by Lindsey Grant, but was not approved. It then showed up on Nevis, being led by Grant's partner in misappropriation, John L. Powell. Well, if it could not work on St. Kitts, how the hell could it work on Nevis? This is an NIA secret, as an election is imminent. So we ask the question, was it a scam? Another narrative we are following in Nevis reminds me of the Monica Lewinsky story. How many of us remember the Monica Lewinsky story? Back in 1995 or 1996, I think it was, President Bill Clinton admitted to having an affair with Lewinsky while she worked as an intern in the White House. Now, many scoffed at the story, I could recall, but the affair had its repercussions that led to the impeachment of President Bill Clinton back then. Many had scoffed at the story, especially these macho men in the Caribbean. But the affair led to serious repercussions for President Clinton, albeit the impeachment was unsuccessful. However, the culture in St. Kitts and Nevis, and by extension the Caribbean, it is unique. Very, very unique, my Straight Talk family.
equivalent of 1 month's salary, or what?
I'll get back to that, my street dog family. That's something wrong with my fingers there. But as I said, the culture in St. Kitts and Nevis, and by extension, the Caribbean, it is unique.
One word, you got for. She went with a married man. Let me tell you something. That is your best shot. Billions upon billions go with married men. Married men are not human. Married women are not human. So if you're unhappy and you are in a relationship and you're married, what are you going to do? You find the next man or find the next woman? So your sin, her sin, is greater than your sin. All sin and come short of the glory of God. You know, she won't be the first and she won't be the last. But the good look about it, the same married man, no dragger. What you do? Up, 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 up. She climbed the ladder. Look at the negative and see what comes out of it if it is not positive. Senator, Deputy Speaker of the House, my special advisor, your mama over the $9,000 where she get.
Yes, my straight dog family. In St. Kitts and Nevis, and by extension the Caribbean, shared beliefs or values and the human behaviors that support these values within a given society, such as the standards of conduct that are met with social approval or disapproval, can vary, irrespective of the laws that are passed. In Parliament, we table the rules. But who? Who will police those rules? We ask ourselves the question.
I recognize the honourable member for Nevis 9.
Madam Deputy Speaker, it occurred to me that it was appropriate that I say a few words in support of this particular bill, shortly entitled Domestic Violence Amendment Bill 2022. Madam Deputy Speaker, we must not only pay lip service, but we, Madam Deputy Speaker, must walk the walk. We must be prepared to condemn it wherever it happens. And that our people, particularly our menfolk, must understand that it is behavior that is unacceptable. And perhaps it's a good thing, that we're having this debate and a woman is in the chair. Wherever it occurs, it doesn't always have to be physical, as we're hearing here, it can be financial. All of it is abuse. And I feel that abuse in all its forms and wherever it raises its head should be condemned.
Despite the legislation, people come to accept that norms often differ across cultures and regions, thus contributing to cross-cultural misunderstandings. We won't be impeached here in St. Kitts. No, far from that. But the other state secret we are still pursuing relates to the MSR Media Limited and the newly found collusion of convenience between Dr. Drew, Mark Brantley, and the film producer. Imagine a Frenchman comes to St. Kitts Nevis during COVID-19. Not a red cent in his briefcase, but no, all of a sudden, he's purchasing a hotel for millions of dollars. Drew and Brantley have allowed the plunder of the treasuries in St. Kitts and Nevis simultaneously, I would add. And this still remains a state secret.
To diversify the economy.
Yes, there is a financial arrangement with MSR. I believe the number is $150,000.
We are prepared to do 35 films over the next 5 years. Along with our development, we are finalizing the purchase of a hotel in St. Kitts so that we can have a base to produce and train people in St. Kitts.
Yes, and you know, and as we have spoken before, that you will definitely have our support.
And we are still asking. We know the arrangement with Brantley and Nevis, $400,000 per month from the people's money that he don't have. But what is the financial arrangement with Prime Minister Drew? Again, how can an investor come to St. Kitts Nevis with not a cent, no money, and in short order is buying a hotel? The state secrets surrounding the sale of our passports, we will also continue to follow. Some people want us to keep quiet, but we are not going to keep quiet. We'll ask the questions. And I'm happy that some of the press have stepped out from the Palace Guard Brigade.
To the Prime Minister, you just mentioned that you're planning a trip to the Middle East to promote the CBI. Last time we had a count of how much CBI applications had been processed was in 2018. The question is, how many passports have been processed up until this date, and how many citizenship applications have you signed off on since in the first 100 days since taking office? And second question is, what is the general breakdown of nationalities who are willing to get citizenship, economic citizenship from St. Kitts and Nevis? And
Right.
is there a plan to put a cap on any nationality?
Is there a plan to?
Put a cap on economic citizenship?
Right, so the questions you have asked are very good questions, and we'll have to get back to you on the numbers because they are very, very specific, and I don't want to not give you. All right, so we can always work on disclosing. We'll do that. Let me say on a number of things that you asked with respect to the numbers. Those are critical questions to ask, and we'll get back to you with respect to those numbers, and you can contact us as well to be specific. All right.
Why are these numbers such a secret? The population in St. Kitts and Nevis, you understand that there are 30,000 residents or economic citizens out there. And we cannot get a confirmation from this new Prime Minister who promised transparency. He would not tell us how many passports he signed since taking office in just 100 days. He signed almost 2,000 passports, we are told. But we'll follow that lead wherever it takes us. Our final observation tonight deals with the commentary or a commentary by one of the worst ministers of tourism we ever had in St. Kitts and Nevis, for that matter. And someone came by me today, visibly upset, and insisted that I must call out Dwyer Astafan. She said when people listen to Dwyer, they may think that he is sitting next to God, but he is nothing but an abomination to mankind, just masquerading as if he is a paragon of virtue. But read Proverbs 24, verse 8 and 9. That's some homework for you to do. But the legacy that Dwyer has left as a minister of government for 13 years was rather shady, to say the least. Dwyer took prisoners out of 1840 to wine and dine at the Prime Minister's Gala at a hotel in Frigate Bay. Yes, Dwyer did that. Took prisoners out of 1840 to wine and dine in Frigate Bay.
It was well known that he went in for prison. someone who was on remand for murder. Took him out. After hours, he brought him to Louis Farrakhan, Prime Minister's Gala, where Louis Farrakhan was the guest speaker. I mean, I had heard that for months, and then one day I said, but why these people are saying these things? I don't think you could be that crazy to take a guy out of prison. And then he shocked us and said, well, PM, I really did it, I really did it. I couldn't believe.
Well, we must believe that, because the facts are there. I went on several promotional tours with Dwyer while he was Minister of Tourism to meet the cruise ship principals in Florida and elsewhere. And his lawyer brother was a part of the delegation, and he must tell the country whether his lawyer brother was on a joy ride or was he placed by Dwyer in the slips to catch any business that derived from the meetings. Dwyer wants somebody to account for several contracts, and that is a fair request and reasonable expectation. This is some of what Dwyer Astafan has requested.
Contracts, the road and other infrastructure contracts, and the rapid rags to riches stories of some people on the public payroll. You see those street lights that were put up at the cost of what, $5 million? Not that we did not need street lights, but the locations did not make sense, do not make sense. I would not be surprised if the decision to put in those lights and to put them where they went was not initiated by the police, but instead by opportunistic persons who saw personal gain in the process.
Engineer Livingston Pemberton of the Public Works Department and Inspector Carl Keynes of the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force, also its then Commissioner of Police Ian Creeley, must feel insulted by the nonsense Dwyer continues to spew across social media and elsewhere about the traffic lights, or as most of us say, the traffic signals. Transport is a science, Astafan, and a scientific approach was taken in terms of a traffic study and traffic count that determined the placement of these lights in Varsity. And everyone would agree that they have vastly improved the traffic management in downtown Varsity. Regarding the road contracts, he continues to spread false allegations about tenders, even after he was publicly called out by the then Director of Public Works, Cromwell Williams. And Cromwell Williams said this:
But what I was informed was Surrey Paving, who seems to get all of the road contracts without any invitation to tender, without any bidding process.
Is that proposition or statement of the former minister true or false?
False. Surrey Paving is currently the contractor that is undertaking work on the Island Main Road Phase 2. They were also the contractor on the Island Main Road Phase 1. However, in both instances, those projects were tendered.
Now, I have known Cromwell Williams for over 20 years. I worked with him as permanent secretary and later as minister. And I can vouch for Cromwell as an honest, decent, and model career professional who has served the Labour and Team Unity governments with distinction as their chief technical officer or advisor. The Old Road Bay project was also tendered. If my memory serves me well, there were 4 or 5 tenders from Elco Limited, Marine Works, that's Reggie Francis, Seamus, and Rock and Dirt, that won the bid or won the tender. I'm not certain if Surrey Paving did bid. In respect of the new cruise pier, Dwyer attempted to rape the St. Christopher Air and Seaports Authority. His client, Bazarian International Financial Associates, LLC, Bazarian, proposed a PPP structure, a public-private partnership structure, in which it would finance and own the second cruise pier for a concession period of 30 years. 30 years. The mechanics of the Bazarian proposal were as follows. SCASPA will grant a 30-year lease for the second cruise ship pier only to Bazarian to secure project financing to construct the pier. Bazarian will grant a 30-year operating lease of the second cruise pier to SCASPA to operate, and SCASPA would have been responsible for all the costs related to their operations. SCASPA would have had to pay Bazarian the following sums over the 30-year period based on Pier 1 and Pier 2 passenger head tax revenues. Year 1 to 10, the greater of 40% of the head tax, and US dollars $4.25 per passenger. Years 11 to 20, the greater of 30% of the head tax, and US $3.75 per passenger. Years 21 to 30, the greater of 25% of the head tax, and US $3.50. At the end of the 30-year period, the second cruise pier ownership would have been transferred to SCASPA by Bazarian. But by then, the useful life of the pier would have been minimal, and significant rehabilitation work would have been required to expand its useful life. Based on the financial modeling, which was reviewed and affirmed by Ernst & Young, international accountants, net cash flows after 30 years on both options were as follows. On the CCC Jevedy proposal, net cash flow to SCASPA would have been $480 million, net of the debt repayment of $58 million. Bazarian model, the net cash flow to Bazarian would have been $252 million based on its indicative term sheet. $252 million. So Dwyer must release the content of his incentive agreement with his client Bazarian so the country can understand his interests. Let the country know how many millions you would have made Dwyer Astafan. If you charge 1%, that would have been $6.8 million. And that's US dollars. Almost $20 million. If you charge 5%, that would have been $30 million. What a rich man you would have been. No wonder you're so bitter. The indicative term sheet you submitted on your client's behalf revealed that your client would have collected over $680 million over 30 years on a $110 million pier. But your interest did not materialize, so you started and continue a vendetta against Team Unity. Right now, Dwyer Astafan is patronizing Prime Minister Drew because of his interest in selling the land at Cockle. Dwyer must release the content of his incentive agreement with the St. Michael Foundation, also the Texas Old People, so the country can understand his interests. He may now be asking Prime Minister Drew to wipe off the $20 million of the $40 million debt owed to the National Bank. And once Dwyer does not get his wishes, he will soon start to curse Dr. Drew and the Labour administration. Dwyer is dangerous. His tongue is like a weapon of mass destruction. But I support his call for someone to account for the people's money. However, I also submit that Dwyer must also account for the people's $54 million that should have been spent at La Valley as per the contract Dwyer signed when he was minister responsible for the Frigate Bay Development Corporation. Tell us about it, Dwyer. We need to know.
Apparently, he wants me to explain to the nation why I, as a minister, signed an agreement. Well, it seems as though he wants me to explain why I signed. I'm told that he said he's not accusing anybody of bubble, but that he was just asking, where's the money? That's what I'm told, right? And I don't remember. But let me say what I have to say. I'm not saying it didn't happen.
You can't say it didn't happen. But there's more to come. But those are my observations in review for tonight. And I know you're waiting for my dissertation. Timothy put money away for rainy day. It was very important that the Harris Team Unity administration had a policy to save for the rainy day. What is even more important is the amount of savings it accumulated that allowed the government to discharge its obligations during the COVID-19 pandemic and made provisions for the future and sustainable growth of the economy and well-being of its citizens. And if we are honest and objective, we will applaud Timothy Harris for such an achievement. But if you don't want to give credit where credit is due, it matters not, as the government of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, Timothy Antoine, did so already. Yes, he did so in 2020, when the whole world went into a lockdown, which plummeted the global economy into recession. Fortunately, the Harris Team Unity administration had buffers.
The global economy is now in recession. And in the ECCU, we project a sharp contraction in 2020. In terms of employment, we have seen a sharp rise in unemployment across the currency union. In at least two countries, unemployment is approaching 50%. I do not have numbers for St. Kitts and Nevis, but what we do know is that more than 2,000 persons have applied for relief under the Social Security Board's COVID Relief Fund. In respect of government revenues, governments across the currency union have seen revenues plummet by as much as 50%. In one country, it's close to 75%. I do not yet have the numbers for St. Kitts and Nevis, but we do know that St. Kitts and Nevis has some buffers, more buffers than most, and so perhaps the impact is not being felt yet because of the buffers available to the state and to the people.
St. Kitts and Nevis had buffers. That's not my story. That's the story of the governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. Timothy Harris, as a Minister of Finance, also built fiscal resilience. And these are not my words, again. These are the words of Governor Antoine.
So the question is, how do we best position ourselves to cushion the effects? One of the first areas that we've really encouraged is building fiscal resilience. Essentially, it is what our parents and grandparents did set aside something for a rainy day. The sun may be shining, but it will not always shine. Rainy days will come. And so we have been encouraging countries, encouraging our governments to set aside something so that in a period of downturn or economic difficulty, the government will be in a position to spend more and to help cushion the effect on the people. I know in St. Kitts and Nevis, the government has some reserves and they have been deploying those in this period to help, and that is welcome.
Thank God we had a leader like Timothy Harris, whose astute management of the St. Kitts Nevis economy included putting aside enough money into savings as reserves to cover emergencies, to cover disasters such as hurricanes, floods, and the coronavirus-induced pandemic that caused sudden unemployment in every economic sector in St. Kitts and Nevis. To say otherwise is to blatantly lie. And strange but true, a lady who interacted with Prime Minister Drew way back in August, just after the change in government, said to me, and I quote, "Patches, we will be in the wilderness with Labour for a while." Then she continued, and what stunned me was when out of the blue she said, "Patches, Simmons was a liar. Douglas was twice as liar as Simmons, but Drew is worse than Simmons and Douglas." This conversation came back to my mind when I heard Prime Minister Drew gave two different accounts on the same issue. During his first interview, he provided this assessment of the current state of the economy's, the country's finance. And he said this:
pay for all these things.
Can handle these things. Yeah. We can make the necessary investment.
So on your economic team's assessment, the current state of the country's finances can pay for all these things.
Can handle these things. Yeah. We can make the necessary investment.
My people, in the space of a mere 3 weeks, Prime Minister Drew painted an entirely different picture. Believe it or not.
In the red, dependent heavily on CBI, and therefore we have to now chart a different course in order to make sure that St. Kitts and Nevis remain strong and viable. But we are very vulnerable at the same time. In the red, dependent heavily on CBI, and therefore we have to now chart a different course in order to make sure that St. Kitts and Nevis remain strong and viable. But we are very vulnerable at the same time.
This was, however, challenged, and rightly so, by his predecessor and third Prime Minister Harris. But he was shut down in the People's Parliament by the Speaker, who used a 19th century guide to make a ruling in this, the 21st century. So sad.
Is as follows. The statement that the honorable member for St. Christopher 7 is about to give or attempted to give does not fall within the conformity of section 22 of the standing orders with regard to personal explanation. As such, I am kindly and respectfully asking the honorable member for St. Christopher 7 to refrain from making any further statements with regard to this item.
But Harris did not get the opportunity to make the statement in the People's House. It's the House of Representatives. But he gave the country the accurate information later on, which brought the honesty and competency of Jew under the microscope.
The administration left the economy with the strongest cash buffers it has ever had over the last 40 years. As of the 3rd of August 2022, St. Kitts and Nevis, under my watch as Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, had an accumulated cash position of $688,095,101.41.
Having heard the Harris account of the fiscal disposition of St. Kitts and Nevis, as at 2 days prior to the last election, August the 3rd, to many, Prime Minister Drew only planted seeds of distrust in his own credibility. Many pundits concluded that Drew did not understand the nexus between our current account, our capital account, and our reserves. Others believed that Drew was deliberately telling lies to make Harris look bad. Some, like Elder Sylvine Henry, however, were more diplomatic.
Fiscally responsible. To act otherwise increases the deficit. So we broke, but we could give 4 million in an array. I don't know how many million we're going to give for the extra month. Now, all of these are adding to the weather. We're spending millions here and millions there. I mean, why are we deceiving people? From the time Doctor, you said it, I questioned it. And until he's able to call the figures, as Dr. Harris did, he should not be believed. Because he doesn't have to go and ask anybody for it, you know. Dr. Harris gave his CC at the 3rd of August. Dr. Drew must therefore give the figure he met at the same date to have comparison.
And yes, Sylvine was right not to believe Dr. Drew. He was deceiving the country in an attempt to avoid paying the double salary, to mend the PAP, and amongst other schemes to stop the peace initiative. But a friend of mine pointed me to an interview by Observer Radio's Jackie Quinn in Antigua and Barbuda, who pulled the truth out of Dr. Drew's mouth. Listen carefully, my Straight Dog family. Listen carefully.
Double salary. But PM, where is this coming from? Because here in Antigua and Barbuda, our government has not been able to offer stimulus to Antiguans and Barbudans during COVID. And we keep hearing of all these great initiatives in your country. Have you discovered oil somewhere in Bastia?
I can't say we have discovered oil. Let me say that each country has its own response, but this has been our response. I can't say we don't have oil. Of course, we had some monies put away for a long time now that we would use during a rainy day.
Heard it straight from the Prime Minister's mouth. It's not a fake. All public servants will be getting a double salary. But PM, where is this coming from? Because here in Antigua and Barbuda, our government has not been able to offer stimulus to Antiguans and Barbudans during COVID. And we keep hearing of all these great initiatives in your country. Have you discovered oil somewhere in Bastia?
I can't say we have discovered oil. Let me say that each country has its own response, but this has been our response. I can't say we don't have oil. Of course, we had some monies put away for a long time now that we would use during a rainy day.
You heard that, my Straight Dog family? So whereas Prime Minister Drew lied to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, straight from his mouth, he told the truth to Antiguans and Barbudans that millions of dollars he is spending on charter flights for his ministers to travel the world, booking the most expensive suites at top hotels, for security for every member of cabinet, payment of a double salary on his birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday, Prime Minister, when it comes. Payment of an honorarium, also a gratuitous payment to a loudmouth crook and others from the private sector who lost their jobs after exercising their right to refuse to be vaccinated. The millions the Drew administration is spending comes from the legacy of Timothy, who put money away for a rainy day. I am going to open the lines, and some may agree or disagree with me, but that's what Straight Talk is all about. Nonetheless, that's my story for tonight, and I am not going to change it. Drew went to Antigua, and he spilled the beans in Antigua, unaware that we listen all over the world. And he admitted that Timothy saved money for a rainy day. Listen to Drew again.
Double salary. But PM, where is this coming from? Because here in Antigua and Barbuda, our government has not been able to offer stimulus to Antiguans and Barbudans during COVID. And we keep hearing of all these great initiatives in your country. Have you discovered oil somewhere in Bastia?
I can't say we have discovered oil. Let me say that each country has its own response, but this has been our response. I can't say we don't have oil. Of course, we had some monies put away for a long time now that we would use during a rainy day.
And him, we had some money put away. Who is we? Timothy is who put money away for a rainy day. That's my story tonight, and I am not going to change it. I will open the lines, entertain your calls, and entertain your emails. If you're so minded to call, the numbers are 663-6672 and or 646-829-6672. I implore you to respect others. And of course, to achieve that, you must first respect yourselves. Let us try to be fair to all concerned, and let us try to build goodwill and better friendships. Let us ensure that the things we say and or do will be beneficial to all concerned. And in doing and or saying those things, let us strive to build a kinder and gentler St. Kitts and Nevis. With that said, at 10 before the 9 o'clock hour, I go straight to the lines. Caller, you live. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening, my dear.
And how are you?
I am peaceful. Yourself?
Oh, I'm blessed. Mouth open, story jump out.
Say it again.
Timothy name will always be called because he was the best. You will never find nobody else like Timothy. They had done the country money shame, they shame now. Bye.
Bye-bye. Have yourself a wonderful night. Yes, mouth open, you said, Tory jump out. We go straight back to the lines and say, caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
Hey, Mr. Straight Talk, good evening.
How art thou, my brother? I thought about you some time ago. All is well?
Yes, man, we're going to rub bases, man. We're going to rub bases. You know, Straight Talk, let me just go straight to my thing. From ever since my friend picked up the office, now I keep saying he can be a good prime minister, liberalism, communism, socialism prime minister, and he begins to work there. You know, he had his first 100 days. But that belongs to Timothy then. The Prime Minister and his team not start to work yet. That's Timothy budget, that unity budget they're working on still.
That's true. That's so true.
The whole whole world can say, look, guy, you guys then start to work in whatever you do. I catch up, you work begin come January. Am I wrong?
You're certainly correct. Government is continuous. he continues with the
Look,
budget.
these people are doing my left, them eat up my leftover food. So come January, my plate gonna be empty, and them plate gonna start put food in. And I would never understand it that these people ask this man, oh, what's your best achievement? What did you accomplish? Oh, we put the first deputy governor general. What? That's all he can. They don't do nothing. They can't do nothing. Their hands are tied. I mean, their hands are tied until they start doing the work come January. So when you see them fly over and them do this and do that, and they can't do nothing more because that's unity job them are finished. It's unity budget they are.
Certainly. Certainly. You couldn't say it better.
Man, straight up, we got lots to you know.
Good to hear you. Good to hear you,
one of my friends is coming down straight up, and you're going to have to find my friend.
All right.
Understand?
Yes, I will.
Because I'm going to give them, if them give me everything for you, know.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yes, if them give me, he said, listen, when last you hear from Straight Talk, I said, look, I don't know how to get in touch with Straight Talk. He said, hold on, I'm going to set you up. And Straight Talk, my friend hooked me up. So it's a blessing. So God bless you. So all of we Straight Talk family. Family. We good to go.
See you when I see you, my brother.
See you when I see you. Be good.
Be good, my brother. Yes, that's calling from New York. I want to thank this caller for holding 6 before 9. You're live.
Yes, Patrick, the president. Good evening to you.
How about thou, my dear? Good evening.
I'm fine. What about you?
I am peaceful. Trust me.
Okay. Patrick, before the great doctor in this seat and gone in there, I've been always saying that if we make a mistake and put in a good doctor, we're going to regret it. I called to my colleagues them over Kayon, and I said, if you ever make one mistake and put in the doctor, are you going to regret it? And the reason why I had been saying so all the time, because I listened to a conversation at time he had on the good station where he does this. And the things and what he was saying, I said, no, he cannot run to get a seat in the run for a prime minister. And saying those things, and the things that was about which fellows them who get us to walk and do the bad things them. And when I heard him, I said, no, that is not a good man to put to run this country. And I live today to see it. And you must play that tape the way he plays from Antigua. Fast the people, then be ungrateful. Wicked people when we hire in St. Kitts play the tape play here. Because all of them going round. How Timothy and the board that thief half the money. And they go in a jail soon. And all sorts of things they must say about it. Poor man, but they remember the good that he do. And remember the bad, what they want to put in. He do wolf, and the wolf then what he do, they wasn't facing what with their time, Simon's time, and Douglas time. Then the wolf he do for people. They forget that. That's a part. Come on. He even turned around and hit the people who won 70 years in 2 years with them house. And them on top the road and painting the man in all sorts of color. And they couldn't get a house before. Because nobody did that for them because they said they don't pay rent. They don't like to pay mortgage. And Tim come and gave them a house when they was 2 years before they reach 70. And you're going to come tell me that Timothy, you do nothing in a it? Well, let me tell you something. When you see things start to happen to me in think it, do not anybody say is up here. Is the wickedness, the ungratefulness, and the bad-mindedness of our we why things will happen. You see everything apart and talk about, oh, we blessed. We not so much blessed, you know. The time is waiting on us, and we will see it. Just a matter of time because we too ungrateful, and we too bad-minded in this place here. I don't care what nobody say. All of them who talk bad things about him, they're going to leave one day, they're going to come out on the road and set up, but they're going to grumble in the house because they're going to shame to come out, come talk and say what they got to say. Because no one in this federation here run this country here. Look at Mr. Harris. None of them. I said none. And they're going to regret it. They're too ungrateful and miserable. And the time will come because me in it, but they said the innocent just have to pay for the guilt. Return comes. So, Mr. Harris, you don't bother with them at all. Walk with your head high. You don't care what they say about you. And what's that? Stand tall. Because you is a good man. And there is none here to match you. Patrice, have a blessed night if I get back in and come back again.
Have yourself a good night as well, my dear. You just gave me, what do you call them, goose pimples? Yes, but the truth, you know, the truth is what will set you free. Caller, you are live. Hello, caller.
Yes, but the truth, you know. Hello.
You got your radio, your equipment on?
Yeah, I'm open it. Yeah, how are you?
I am peaceful. Yourself?
I'm good. I'm cold anyhow. It's cold.
What's the weather there?
I think it's about 40-something degrees, something like that.
Oh, wrap up.
Yeah, I'm here wrapping up.
Yes, my dear.
Yeah, so we had put up money for the rainy days. Well,
yes.
When the rain come and no money there, so let it be.
True.
So let it be because, I mean, the complaint said that he didn't do nothing for the 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And now they could boast and say that they could manage it because we had some money put up for rainy days.
Yeah, imagine that.
So I guess we ain't coming now.
Yes.
So when it rain over and nothing there, so let it be. I don't think I'll be part of it. So you have a nice evening. Talk to you later. Bye.
Have a good evening as well, my dear.
Bye.
You imagine, he didn't say Timothy, you know. He said we put up money for a rainy day. Imagine that. You don't believe me? This is what Drew said.
Salary. But PM, where is this coming from? Because here in Antigua and Barbuda, our government has not been able to offer stimulus to Antiguans and Barbudans during COVID. And we keep hearing of all these great initiatives in your country. Have you discovered oil somewhere in Bastia?
I can't say we have discovered oil. Let me say that each country has its own response, but this has been our response. I can't say we don't have oil. Of course, we had some monies put away for a long time now that we would use during a rainy day.
You know, when you listen to Joe, we put away money for a long time now. He's there for 100 days, you know. Before the man be honest and say, Timothy put money away for the rainy day, he's trying to lie his way again. Caller, thank you for holding your live.
Dr. Ian Patches Liburd.
Your humble servant. Patches is
okay, I'm humble behind you too.
Yes. Patches,
I want to say thank you very much for opening your mouth and let Tory jump out. every caller tonight here before me, they're right on the head of the nail. Solid. If you see Mr. Straight Talk had such a good session, you must know everybody on the top of the nail. But just let me tell you this, yo. Christopher Columbus is a damn blasted lawyer. Dr. Thomas Drew is a damn blasted lawyer. Now, according to the last caller, remind us that they say in the 7 years gone, Timothy ain't do nothing to the country. Nothing progressively successfully to the country. Well, that money that they come in now and they are using, what is that, cup shell? You know, when we small, we used to play dolly house and spall up cups, and so we glass bottle, we got them as money, we call them cup shell. All of that is lies, Dr. Joe telling, and he living on lies as a leader of this country. You play a soundboy there, I mean not a soundboy, what the lady say, well, Dr. Simon will lie, then Douglas will lie than he, but this one, yeah, he look what you call a pot of cook-up lies. Everything lie. When he went in the first, he said that the treasury was pregnant with money. That's why he could take 15 of them to New York for a party. And after that, he come home here. And in his face with the big responsibility from the electric light company for the honorarium money. And he realized that other people, other departments in the country and private entrepreneurs going to want the honorarium money too. So he come up with a big story. Well, it got to be that he got bad head. The brains in his head gone bad because he come up with a story, come say that the country is in financial red. Financial red, and you got money to go back to Taiwan and carry your gang with you. And this load of $1 million that you got to go pay out for honorarium. Who do you think you could fool? Who do you think they could fool? Ungratefulness is worse than witchcraft. And somewhere in Psalms in the Bible say, all men are liars. And the Bible prophesy right. Anyway, I will have some short input to make tonight. So when I come on, I will come with a short and quick and get out the way let other people get in. And we want as many people as possible tonight to talk. Because we got a lot of things to say about them. So I go until I come back.
Have yourself a good night, my dear brother. This message reads, Mr. Attorney General, I am very happy to hear you say that your office will be investigating all who got money from the Treasury inappropriately, unlawfully, and undeservedly. However, your focus seemed directed at the collapsed Team Unity government. What about investigating Denzel Douglas and Rosalind Hazel? I am sure you are aware, Attorney General, how many Labour supporters got free money from the government treasury under their watch during their tenure in office without any accountability whatsoever. It is unfair, biased, prejudicial, selfish, improper, and wrong for you only to name and shame some Team Unity members and officials and not the Labour Party. Remember, you are not afraid of anybody. You have a job to do, and you will be doing it. The public will be waiting and watching with bated breath to see you in action, working on a balanced play field, reads this email. It's now 6 past the 9 o'clock hour. You may have just joined us, my Straight Dog family. And my thesis for tonight is Timothy Harris put money away for rainy day. And it was very important that he did. It's very important that the Harris Team Unity Administration had a policy to save for the rainy day. What is even more important is the amount of savings it accumulated that allowed the government to discharge its obligations, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. It also made provisions for the future and sustainable growth of the economy and well-being of its citizens. And if we are honest, and let's be honest, let's be objective, and if we are, we must applaud Timothy Harris for such an achievement. It's 9:08. Caller, you're live.
Yes, good night.
Good night, my dear.
Well, you see how things has worked out? Man, find them out. Find out all of them hate. Because you know what? They used to say about Timothy feeding the, giving the money to the country. And the country, he's supposed to give them gateway to, not the joyride, what they're having. It's not the joyride, the big joyride behind, no. And they don't want to give the people them the money. That's why they want to say, thing. And you know what he mean? He wants to say, we. The we he mean, the dog, he wants to select the money there. But even so, the issue that Timothy not been waste them up. He never wasting it up at all. Anyway, have a good night. Enjoy your night. I will talk another time. Bye.
Have a good night, my dear family. Good to hear you as well. South Carolina in the house. Patches reads this email. There's a man in the Monkey Hill area who came from one of the Windward Islands, either from Dominica or St. Lucia. He has a distinct voice and arrived in St. Kitts several years ago, virtually a refugee. The Borneo Kittitians and Divisions welcome everyone, even those who are considered refugees and destitute as the gentleman. But when they start to get out of hand, rude, insolent and disrespectful to our past and present leaders and Borneo citizens, they must be warned in no uncertain terms that we will not tolerate their ill-mannered and unbecoming behavior in our country. This particular individual came out of dismal darkness into a beam of glorious shining light in St. Kitts with the thought he was in New York City. Now that he has grounded himself, he has the audacity to be calling in on radio and hurling insults at Dr. Harris. Just because he went to him for certain favors, got some but not all, he has become very hostile to Dr. Harris. He ought to be ashamed of his avaricious unthankfulness and greedy behavior towards Dr. Harris, who helped him so much when he was in dire need and abject poverty, reads that email. My Straight Talk family, it is 10 past the 9 o'clock hour. We are taking your calls. The numbers again are 663. Tell your neighbor, tell your friends, share the numbers, share the links as well. It's 663-6672. That's the local number. The overseas number is 646-829-6672. Our email address, if you like the cloak of anonymity, is straighttalkpatches@gmail.com. That's straighttalkpatches, that's one word, STRAIGHTTALKPATCHES. That's one word, use the lowercase, and you are right on to that email address. Pleasant evening to you. Patches reads this other email. What's all this chatter about boards and disgruntled labor supporters? People must realize this is a new day and a better way. So everyone is not going to be suitable for a board position. People have to have unrealistic expectations, because any serious government cannot put the likes of a Big Lice or Curtis Crook on a government board. That would be madness. It's better to give them a job doing watchman or janitor work at one of the government buildings or schools, reads this email. That's a little bit harsh on my brother. The Lice, Big Lice is highly qualified, I can say, and I know he served well on the NHC board, but he's been a little yo-yo, going from here to there, you know, and he's made his apologies, so we hope some things will work out for him. Let's go back to the lines, my Straight Dog family. It's 12 past 9. Caller, you live. Hello, caller. Turn your radio off, no? Hello?
Hold on.
Yeah, turn your radio down, please. Yes, I'm begging you to turn your radio down when you call, so you won't get that feedback. Yes, you're live.
Yeah, well, I can't just say, right?
Pardon?
Timothy is a good man, but people are like good. People are not about.
True.
The man being good to each and everybody in a significant need. Unless it's be kidding, man. Jews say a country in a red, but you're not gonna try it. You say, oh, being up in a double or just we have to triple. So how come all of a sudden to make this statement, they say, yeah, mama man, you have a honey bee in a box, they put up. And me, I call it from Black Rock, I don't care who one works with me tomorrow in the city. I say, Harris and Wick, constituency 7. If you go going on with Harris, I going on with him. When I jump ship, stick with him. I don't care. Only one help me. God go provide for me.
Okay, my brother.
Good night.
Good night. Yes, understand and respect your loyalty. And if we are really honest and objective as a people, we will applaud Timothy Harris for his achievements. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller. Are you there, caller? Oh, I'm sorry, that's my bad.
That is, I made to understand that a fleet again gone traveling again.
A what?
True?
I didn't get you. Could you repeat that?
Huh?
I didn't get your comment. Could you repeat it, please?
Yep. I said I made to understand that a few of them gone traveling again.
Oh, gone traveling. Well, that's expected.
Yeah.
They're like some new kids, you know.
What is traveling really is all about? What do? Some of them going with tour, learn how to plant wines, plant grapefruit tree, plant potato tree. Or maybe we know it's capable enough to plant them kind of tree there. Is that what they're going with for? To learn to plant tree? Huh? And then you they're gone with me somewhere and they bring back nothing.
That is the
point. So what they want to, because the money in India, they might try to say they could send off the money and what's not? Huh? All who say Timothy thief the money, tell them go down go check right now to see which part Timothy leave the money and they're spending it like when you open a pipe. And when it's done, I want to hear what they're going to say. But you to have a pleasant night.
Have a pleasant night, my dear. Dr. Harris reads this email. I know you are not a stupid man, and I very well know you have the capacity and capability to defend yourself anywhere and at any level. But even a fool you can learn something from. Now, Dr. Harris, the Freedom Radio propagandists and groundless crew are planning to invite you on their radio show to be interviewed. All I am asking you is to remember the case of the Saudi journalist and dissent Jamal Khashoggi, who went into the Saudi embassy in Turkey in 2018 to do his lawful business and his body came out in pieces and cannot be found. Dr. Harris, you may not come out like the journalists, but always remember the epigram, there are many ways to kill a cat, and one of the groundless members is a doctor. Take my advice and continue to refuse and ignore their invitation. They are wicked and devious people and want to embarrass and make you a public spectacle, reads that email. It's now 9:17. Again, if you're just joining us, we are reflecting on the money that Timothy put away for the rainy day. And it took a journalist in Antigua and Barbuda to pull that out of the mouth of Jew. Let's go to the lines. Caller, you're live. Are they caller? Okay, we seem to have missed that caller. Yes. So we are, in fact, looking at our dissertation for tonight, which I have entitled, Timothy Put Money Away for a Rainy Day. But I'll come back to that. Let's go to the lines and say, caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
Good night. How are you?
I am peaceful, my dear. Yourself?
You had a good weekend?
Oh, yes, a restful one. Restful one. What about
Lord, I had to laugh. For the money was for a rainy day.
Yes.
But, Liburd, your first call and she said so good. And I think she come back again. What you want to say, right? The fraud without Marby 100 days. What in it? Nothing. Just to get a Timothy, do so good. But it's their voters. But they don't care. Once in labor, they don't care what they do to them. The labor, the AG, they will think it's white people, never like black people. That's why he's saying all kind of things to get at the black petition. Some of what he's saying, they cheat to get in and they know they will never want to come out, changing a boundary when that will be. People come from away, all over, they went to vote and term limit. He just want to for something. Not them, they will never do nothing like that. They remember they had 10 men in one, and the lady said they're gone again, let it go. They're going and going until they ain't come back. See you coming back.
Thanks a lot. That sounds like Alice in Wonderland. This message reads, I really would like to address the Honorable Minister of Tourism in a very respectful way and say to her, Madam Minister, do not try to mislead, fool, or deceive us in any way, for it will not work. In your explanation to justify your many travels and joyrides, you willfully, maliciously, and erroneously stated that you had to do all these constant and extensive traveling in order to bring those large tourist boats, because we cannot stay here in our small corner and expect the boats will come to our shores. So you have to travel to get them. What a joke. Madam Minister, it is improper, dishonest, unethical, unprincipled, wicked, and untrustworthy for you or anyone else in your government to be taking someone else's credit that is not due to you. You are plagiarizing the hard work of the former Team Unity Minister of Tourism, Mr. Grant. All these large, medium, and small tourist boats that have come here since you are the new minister and will be coming at least for the next 2 years are the excellent work of Grant and Team Unity. You have a long way to go before you can get one ship here on your own. So please, Madam Minister, continue on your joy-riding trips overseas in peace. But do not try again to deceive us with your lame, feeble, flimsy and unconvincing excuses, for it will not work with us. The citizens of the Federation know better. And I can understand the content of that email, because really, cruise ships, you book sometimes 2 years out in advance. So for someone to really claim or lay claim to what they call these new ships, or these ships on the inaugural calls, those were planned years back, sometimes, most times, 2 years in advance. Let's go to the lines. Caller, you're live.
Yeah.
Hello, caller.
I'm here.
I'm going to limit you to one more call tonight, right? Because my lines are very busy.
Okay. Let me go on.
Yeah, okay.
If them people, Dr. Harris, they would save their invitation. Before Team Unity was formed, Dr. Harris never responded to them with the propaganda. And during his administration, his ministry, he never responded to them. Even when they try to humiliate him in the public, he ain't take them on. So they think Dr. Harris going to go up there on the propaganda radio station with them when he interview. They don't know better than that. Now, Mr. Lawyer fraud, he forget one time he was messed with a little child in Foynes Avenue. And the child father dead, and then the child house burned down. And he gets some material to build up a 211 house, and then the bill come to Douglas. When Douglas see, Douglas asked him how this come here. This ain't government business. Douglas gave him some adjectives. Tell him, no, this your place. Go and pay for what you think for your own self. He forget all of that day. And he forget what he do with the 50 million down La Valley. He walk in plain and oddly Jesus. One time he was over here by Dr. Harris' house to address us in a little meeting. And he praised up Dr. Harris as such a good man, and we cannot afford to lose a man like Harris. Now hear him cussing Dr. Harris and got all kind of bad, evil things about Dr. Harris. He cannot walk in Dr. Harris' shoes. And if God let what happen for a reason, for all the hypocrites and Judases and Jezebel them to see who is good from who is bad now. And all of them, they know who changing the clothes, plain labor, who done abuse Pam and abuse Douglas them and plain labor now to secure work and whole work. Brother and sisters, what to be will be. Whether I say, and they want to turn with I, they will do it. And if I say, he will turn with I still. Patches, have a good night.
Have a good night, my dear brother. Hello, Patches. Tonight, you're on fire. Don't back away. Keep this administration honest and on their toes. I have not heard you speak about what Dwyer had to say very recently about the state of the economy and the Harris claim of leaving $688 million. Why not? Are you aware that Dwyer said that he confirmed it was 646 million left and not 688 million, as claimed by former Prime Minister Harris? Yes, I've heard that nonsense. Dwyer always shoot nonsense, to be quite frank. But if we really examine it, and he even went on to say that Douglas left $900 million and Harris should have left more, right? I don't know what sort of rationale that could be. But really, if Douglas left $900 million in the Treasury, how is it no one has ever seen or he has never spoke to a report from the Accountant General on that? Plus, unlike Douglas, Team Unity gave Nevis its best support of $500 million as against nil, nothing from the Douglas administration. The Harris administration redeemed hundreds of acres of land under the land for debt swap that Douglas put the country in. And it cost $400 million to buy back our lands. Don't forget the IMF debt of $117 million which was paid off under the Harris Team Unity administration. And worse yet, the pandemic, when it closed down the entire world, including St. Kitts and Nevis, because we are part of the global village. The Harris Team Unity administration paid three stimulus packages costing another $200 million. And really, if you add that, and if Harris gave us a doggy, he would not have spent that money. He would have kept it, and perhaps he would have had $2 billion in the treasury. But people would have been suffering. That's not the kind of Harris I know. He's a man of the people who love the people. And some people don't like to hear me say these things, but I cannot help but speak the truth. Greetings and good evening, H.E. Liburd. Greetings, my dear. Hope you continue to remain peaceful and informative. Yes, I'll try. I'm always at peace with my God. I'm at peace with myself and at peace with the world. I've been following the events, continues this email in Nevis, regarding the upcoming local elections. NRP means well, but they have an uphill battle. As long as overseas voters are allowed to return and vote, elections will never be free and fair in St. Kitts and Nevis. The Premier has his ducks lined up. By the way, the government of St. Kitts is in the red. Who is financing the double salary, honorarium, and trips abroad? I know some international organizations fund trips, but they don't pay for hotels or per diem. Please correct me if I'm wrong. We look forward to another educational and informative program tonight. These trips are not funded. I would submit perhaps, yes, the Taiwanese, not perhaps, the Taiwanese would have funded the trip to Taiwan, the official trip to Taiwan. And I want to suspect, because I believe I saw a picture with the Taiwanese at COP27, and knowing them, they may have funded that trip as well. But they make all these trips, and I think, remember some years ago, when Douglas was traveling, he put in a claim for his travel, or for his per diem, and it was almost $1 million in 1 year. And that's what they seem to do. They get their per diems, and that adds up. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
Patrick, good night.
Yes, my brother. Good night. How are you?
I'm fine, buddy.
How are you, Jam Down?
Well, you don't think it's people, they know the truth, and once they come to straight talk, is the truth they will get.
Yes, certainly.
But I come to say tonight, Patrick, that it look like fall coming to us. Because it's clear to see Timothy is the leader for this country. This guy ain't a joker, I know what a young boy there be. He had a fucking name. I know that. What we just gonna wish him all the best. But you see, when you try to put yourself in things, never hang your hat further than your hand could reach. You must climb up on something to get your hat and fall down, get your foot. And this is the problem. Now, Patrick, when I look at number two peer, where all kind of people had all kind of things to say. Because number one peer in a pattern, I really want it to be, but an engineer who work at number two peer told me that another peer deal is soon to just break in. The clever come with them. You know how the peer these peer in slabs. Underneath bad, Masalan peer bad, and for heaven's sake, Dr. Joe, I I need good government. Money. I got knowledge over down there. We might get a tone down there, you know. We might get a tone and knock it down there. And that's what it don't happen. Because fearlessness against people. Now for years they come and straight up and try to tell them about these dolphins. Let them mend them. Have to walk in. Not even the Jacob ladder to walk. To hold in this heavy line. And then they cannot get away with starting. Nobody's studying them. You got a man in the up there, you know, he has some hero. I mean, what's going on? Now you come down and towards them, we got some find it down there. Things. Now, touching by have a good night, Jillian. Have a good night. Is this how we go in Rimasha?
Have a good night, my dear brother. And that reminds me, I almost lost my job on Straight Talk tonight because I should have hailed up Lydia Dumpling Harris. Lydia Dumpling Harris, I'm sure, is listening. I passed her straight some days ago. I have not seen or heard from her, but I passed her straight and I came back and had a word with her. And Lydia Dumpling Harris told me she is doing wonderful. And I felt so good. Good night, Mr. Patches reads this email. As always, you put on a great show that keep folks coming back for more information. I'm humbled, thanks. I love that you treat everyone fairly and give the opportunity to one and all to be heard, in spite of some folks calling in to distract from the topic that's being presented. So Timothy Harris is a finance genius and worth his weight in gold. He knows and struts his finance passion on how to make and spend money. The numbers show that he did a great job, even though the Labour Party and its henchmen said that he did nothing in 7+ years. The Labour Party is spewing lies because they cannot match the financial wizard Sir Timothy. I thought the people of St. Kitts and Nevis were better than this. Give the credit to Sir Timothy that he deserves, whether you support him or not. Dr. Jew should also be able to give his predecessor credit for all that money he stored up for a rainy day. However, he's a small little man with no courage to speak truth. Dr. Jew stated the country was in the red, which is a lie. What were his plans for all that money? Rob the Treasury to enrich his life and place the blame at Sir Timothy's door? Dr. Jew is on a collision with spewing lies, and that's the legacy he will leave long after he's gone. Again, Dr. Douglas is a pathological liar, but Jew is a highly accomplished liar. So Timothy's work speaks volumes and will be talked about for generations to come. All the lies and propaganda that's being spread about Sir Timothy doesn't define who he is. He's not perfect, but the very best St. Kitts have placed on the world stage thus far. It is said, jealousy breeds murder. Dr. Jew and the Labour Party has decided to assassinate his character. Dr. Jew and his gang should know they cannot measure up to Sir Timothy Harris's integrity. Sir Timothy, you are loved and respected by many. Keep fighting for your people and the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis. Thanks for a job well done. The Honourable Marcia Henderson is riding high on all the work done by Sir Timothy's tourism team. Marcia, I say to you, shame on you for taking credit for the foundation that was laid for tourism and the cruise ships that due to enter St. Kitts. This credit is not yours, so don't take it. Mr. Dwyer, I say, has forked tongue, according to the Native American Indians. He has no loyalty to anyone. Denzel Douglas is a poor leader. His highest achievement was in lying. Mr. Patches, good job. Keep being who you are. Your materials are well presented. Stay strong. Reads this email. Thanks for the recommendation. It's 9:37. We have 23 minutes before I say bye-bye. So let's use it wisely, my Straight Talk family. Was just about to tell you with this email that he boasted that he using from reserve to pay double salary and looking at the dividends he wants to pay. Wow. Yes. Again, if you have just turned your dial or just logged on to Straight Talk, whether on Facebook or YouTube, we address several issues tonight. But the main issue, or as I call it, my main or my dissertation, is Timothy put money away for a rainy day. And it was very important that he did. It was very important that the Harris T. Military Administration had a policy to save for the rainy day. What is even more important is the amount of savings it accumulated that allowed the government to discharge its obligations during the COVID-19 pandemic. A pandemic that there was no template to deal with, something that no one saw or experienced in 100 years, a century. But Harris made provisions for the future and sustainable growth of the economy and well-being of its citizens. And if we are honest and objective, we must all applaud Timothy Harris for such an achievement. No matter what they say about this vaccination, there was no vaccine mandate. Yes, we had to shut the country down. We had to. All countries were locked down, and some are even still being locked down. But let's go back to the lines. I'll get back to that caller. You are live. Yes, my lord. Turn your radio. Major. I got the voice now. Major, turn your radio down, could you?
This is the Major.
Yeah, could you turn your radio down, Major?
All right, I'm going to turn the radio down.
Yes, and...
Yeah, you down?
No,
you hear me now?
Turn it up. I want the whole world to hear you.
Yeah, you hear me?
Yes, we're hearing you, Major. Go ahead.
You ever heard about two words? Adjusting and adapting. You heard that very often. Adjusting and adapting, right?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, I did. Did you?
You listening? So what I'm saying to you, these two words, I like them very much. And that is why I'm saying that don't make somebody else your problem. Don't make somebody else problem your own. If you rescue or play the matter, the problem becomes yours. Because you're taking the responsibility and doing the suffering. The other person is now free of responsibility for his or her own behavior. If you want to change another person, don't ever cover up. Lessen the effects of their behavior and make excuses for them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Major Fallout.
Yeah.
Very short and to the point, clear and concise, as Major Jones always comes from entirely different perspective. And if you're just joining me again, it's 19 before the 10 o'clock hour. And I'm reminded that in addition to the money that I mentioned that was spent for the stimulus package, I should not forget to mention that the amount of 5,000 families that were placed on the poverty alleviation program. And also just this year, Timothy Harris gave all civil servants, how could I forget that? All civil servants got a backdated increase. I think it was to January. So civil servants received a lump sum as well as an increase in their pay going forward. Yes, January, plus the backdated lump sum to January was also given to pensioners in St. Kitts and Nevis, all pensioners. So it's important as well that I mention that the help program that fixed upwards to upwards of 4,000 household roofers, Labour, PAM, and PLP. Yes, the roofing program that helps over 4,000 households. How can we say that Timothy did nothing? Caller, you're live.
Good night, Mr. Patrick.
Good night, my brother. How are you?
Well, I'm fine. I'm here. Trying to really, get my foot on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
But my foot is hurting me. Now, Mr. Patrick, remember Galatians chapter 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
And verse 7. It's a Revelation.
Revelation?
It's a yeah.
Okay, Revelation.
It says, Galatians chapter 6. It said, be not deceived. God is not mocked. Whatsoever a man soweth,
so shall he reap.
He shall also reap. Now, in Proverbs chapter 6, if you read it there, you read the whole, and you tell you about liars and who made this and that. Galatians chapter 6, Proverbs chapter 6. So, Mr. Patrick, I listen to you tonight, and you come on strong, brother. You're real strong. Well, me come on here now to encourage you. Step out. You're doing that great work. Listen here. When you do what is right in the sight of God, God will take you. And you all for the poor, Mr. Patrick. And Psalm 41 is for you. Blessed is the man that considereth the poor in the time of trouble. The Lord shall. You are looking after the poor people. You're talking for the poor people. So continue, Mr. Patrick, to talk with the poor people. And listen, you know, when this is the last thing I can tell you now. When Cain killed brother Abel, God called out to Cain and asked him, where is your brother? Here, Cain, am I my brother's keeper? God tell Cain, your brother's blood is crying out for vengeance. No, you know what God wants to tell us? We are our brother's keeper. And I'm going to say this. A lot of people is going to be an account to God. But the fellow man, when you oppress the poor and do all the kind of thing with the poor people, the time going to come, the same thing is going to come back to you. And you want to say to yourself, you understand? So you take care of yourself, Mr. Patrick, and be strong. Nobody take Timothy, nobody fighting you. And God rules this whole universe. You hear me? So see you. Have a pleasant night.
Thanks a lot. I have something for you. I'll come and see you, my brother. But I trust that you're well in the meantime. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you are live. Yes, caller? Hello, caller?
That's it.
So?
An old friend of mine just called me, tell me that his granddaughter run a booth in the circus. And the new committee is saying they don't want no boot in the circus. What kind of carnival we don't got? You have to get some kind of entertainment around that here. If you don't want it in the circus, take one of them wheels in the square and let them make the money. What's going on? What that is about? We don't call you get a proper Christmas Day 26 dance into the jubilee, taking a lot away from the carnival. Channel Harley come to the people, stop going shop. Maybe this was them don't want to hear we. Come to straight talk. Let me shoot questions like you. Channel Harley, what are you doing to think it's carnival? You know the mechanisms and content words do so much to bring us to 51 years. And this is what I'm trying to do. Shut up, poor people. We can't ask the chairman a question. When you want to win your family, that's two young people there. What do you take a call when you come to the show? When you want to come to straight up because we got things to after you. That new committee, reverse back. Reverse back. You're going to bring some entertainment in town. What do you think this is? It's carnival has gone over the years. I can't get a clock. Have a good night, Patches.
Have a good night, my dear brother. For those who may have joined me late or just joined me, we are recognizing the good leadership of Harris, whose astute management of the St. Kitts and Nevis economy included putting aside enough money into savings as reserves to cover emergencies, to cover disasters, and it covered hurricanes, floods, and of course the dreadful coronavirus-induced pandemic. That caused sudden unemployment in every economic sector in St. Kitts and Nevis. You heard of the stimulus packages I just said, I spoke about. So to say otherwise is to blatantly lie. And as I said earlier, strange but true, this lady who interacted with Drew just after he took office in August, just after the change in government, and she said to me, and I quote, "Patches, we will be in the wilderness with labor for a while." And she continued, and what stunned me was when, out of the blue, she said, "Patches, Simmons was a liar. Douglas was twice as liar as Simmons, but Drew is worse than Simmons and Douglas." And this conversation came back to my mind when I heard PM Drew give two different accounts on the same issue. In his first interview, he provided his assessment of the current state of the economy or the country's finances. And he said they were good. He can use them to do what he wants to do, the things he wants to implement. But in the space of 3 weeks, Drew painted an entirely different picture. And Drew said we were in the red. How could we forget that? When it was challenged by his predecessor and former Prime Minister Harris, who tried in the People's House to give an explanation and give an update on the same budget that was passed in the very House in which he was refused or asked to sit down by the Speaker using a 19th century guide to make a ruling in this 21st century. But Harris got the opportunity. He got the opportunity, and he gave us an update on what money he left in the Treasury.
It has ever had over the last 40 years. As at the 3rd of August 2022, St. Kitts and Nevis, under my watch as Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, had an accumulated cash position of $688,095,101.41.
Almost $700 million. Let's go back to the lines and take as many calls as I can right now. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller. Okay, I seem to have lost that caller. Yes, almost $700 million. Caller, you are live. Hello, caller.
Mr. Liburd,
My dear.
you hearing me?
We are hearing you loud and clear, my dear.
Yeah, I hear you say that some civil servant get paid, and they do Timothy so. Lord, his name will always with them. So what's the meaning of in the red? And they get money so quick and paying just to keep their voters quiet. You don't know an election pass the town like a ghost town. They're vexed with something. I hope they will get it over with. I hope they will get it done. And the other, when a lady meets me, she just say, get rid of them. It's their own self and always used to beg me. And the other one saying a new program, Drew Young, before he get old, come and see what good he can do, because nothing was doing. Let us say that good Timothy was doing to her. Put a roof over her head and come now abusing him so bad. You have a lot of callers now. You soon going to say one. Have a good night. When people don't hear us, they still want to know what happened to us. Let them come in and say the good or the bad. What's going on? Not to think about the callers. But if only 110 people must call in, you want people calling. But you ain't going to hear none. So yeah, good night. Have a good night.
Have a good night. Sounds like my dear friend Alice in Wonderland. But having heard, as I continue, the Harris account of the fiscal disposition of St. Kitts and Nevis, having heard the state of the economy left by Dr. Harris, as of 2 days prior to the last election, to many, Prime Minister Drew only planted seeds of distrust in his own credibility. Many pundits concluded that Drew did not understand the link, the nexus between our current account, our capital account, and our reserves. Some believe that Drew was deliberately telling lies, and some were diplomatic, like our elder sister, Henry.
Fiscally responsible. To act otherwise increases the deficit. So if we broke, but we could give 4 million, you know, where we are. I don't know how many millions we're going to give for the extra month. Now, all of these are adding to the weather. We're spending millions here and millions there. I mean, why are we deceiving people? From the time, Doctor, you said it, I questioned it. And until he's able to call the figures, as Dr. Harris did, he should not be believed, because he doesn't have to go and ask anybody for it, you know. Dr. Harris gave his CC at the 3rd of August. Dr. Drew must therefore give the figure he met at the same date to have comparison.
And my Straight Talk family, as we wind down tonight's programming, we have to ask several questions still. I asked Dwyer about the content of his incentive agreement regarding the peer, also regarding Cockle Shell. And he spoke about some $900 or $900 million that Douglas left. And Dwyer himself must tell the country, because he must remember the letter he wrote or he published back in 2011 condemning the Douglas administration when the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank issued a statement to the public that the Douglas government was unable to pay the interest on government bonds. How can we forget that? That was when Douglas came out and asked bondholders to take a haircut. We forgot that? Dwyer wrote about it. The letter is there to show. If Douglas left $900 million, where he had it, in which bank he had it, that all bondholders had to take a haircut. Even the church got a haircut. And Dwyer must know that. In which account he had it, I asked the question. And why he said national debt, me donkey, if he had $900 million that he left. Did he give you a Dwyer? Did he give you a doggy? But my Straight Dog family, as we wind down tonight, I submit that Sylvine, Henry, and all of us were right. We had to believe Dr. Harris. We could not believe Prime Minister Drew. Drew was deceiving the country in an attempt, I believe. I'll take this perhaps and make this my final call for the night. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller? Yeah, just stop shouting, Jam Down. Just take, be calm. Be calm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead.
Unit Trust Bank, leave it in.
Okay.
But I could tell them that young man over there, Timothy Harris, he was accepted to this country. And the lady right from the States, we will badly need this man for generations. Because these young ones coming through, if they're going to face this, God bless Timothy Harris. He's the best, better than them. Don't care what you call it, don't care what you want to say about him. He's better than them. He can turn around using it. Have a good night, Pastor. God bless him.
Have a good night as well. And that's the way we're going to end these calls tonight, because my time is done, believe it or not. And as I was saying in my rap, Sylvine and all of us were right not to believe Prime Minister Drew. He was deceiving the country in an attempt to avoid paying the double salary, to mend the PAP, and amongst other schemes to stop the peace initiative. But good thing, I thank my friend, I won't call his name, who pointed me to this interview by Observer Radio's Jackie Quinn, who pulled the truth out of the mouth of Dr. Drew.
double salary. But PM, where is this coming from? Because here in Antigua and Barbuda, our government has not been able to offer stimulus to Antiguans and Barbudans during COVID. And we keep hearing of all these great initiatives in your country. Have you discovered oil somewhere in Bastia?
I can't say we have discovered oil. Let me say that each country has its own response, but this has been our response. I can't say we don't have oil. Of course, we had some monies put away for a long time now that we would use during a rainy day.
Had money put away, and you know the Antiguans love Dr. Joe. They have even claimed Dr. Joe. Would you believe it?
Observer AM. I'm Jackie Quinn, and it's 8:12 in Antigua and Barbuda and around the region. We'll just go through a number of these WhatsApp. Good morning, Jackie. Can you ask PM Drew if he has an Antiguan family? Somebody else sent a message to us. I'm going to read that. The Prime Minister of St. Kitts' father is from Potter's Village. His father's name is Winston Drew, and his sister's name is Lois Drew. So that answers that question. Someone else is saying the St. Kitts Prime Minister, Dr. Terence Drew, is Police Officer Timothy Drew's brother. So somebody confirming that the Prime Minister of St. Kitts has a lot of roots, a lot of family right here in Antigua and Barbuda. Heard it straight from the Prime Minister's mouth. It's not a fake. All public servants will be getting a double salary. But PM, where is this coming from? Because here in Antigua and Barbuda, our government has not been able to offer stimulus to Antiguans and Barbudans during COVID. And we keep hearing of all these great initiatives in your country. Have you discovered oil somewhere in Bastia?
I can't say we have discovered oil. Let me say that each country has its own response, but this has been our response. I can't say we don't have oil. Of course, we had some monies put away for a long time now that we would use during a rainy day.
Well, I want to, in closing, extend in advance happy birthday greetings to our Prime Minister, Terence Michael Drew. But he lied. He lied to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. Straight from his mouth, however, he told the truth to Antiguans and Barbudans who are claiming him. Don't know if they're accurate about his father and his sister and his brother. He lied about the millions of dollars he's spending on charter flights for his ministers to travel the world, booking the most expensive suites at top hotels. Every member of his cabinet has security guards or a guard, but he's paying the double salary tomorrow on his birthday. Again, happy birthday when it comes. He paid an honorarium, and that double salary will cost the government of St. Kitts and Nevis nigh $30 million. He paid an honorarium for $4 million. Also, a gratuitous payment, which he has not revealed the amount to date, but paid to that loudmouth crook and others from the private sector who lost their jobs after exercising their right to refuse to be vaccinated. Why didn't they go to court and get reinstated and get their compensation? But you said they must forego that. How much he paid them, we don't know. But the millions the Jew administration is spending comes from the legacy of Timothy, who put money away for a rainy day. That's my story for tonight, and I am not going to change it. I just want to thank Almighty God for guiding our conversation tonight, and as always, I want to thank you, the many listeners on social media, Facebook and YouTube. those of you on Win FM radio, we say thank you. Thank you, Trent or Jamster, whoever is there. I want to thank all of you who called and sent emails. Remember, you are the ones who make Straight Talk, and for that reason, I say a big, big thank you. I am Ian Patches Liburd, and God's Spirit, I will connect with you on Thursday for another edition of Straight Talk. Until that time, be good to yourselves and to all whom you meet. And remember that whatever your mind conceive, that you will achieve. But first of all, you got to believe. So when you wake in the morning, thank God for the morning light. Thank Him for taking you through the night. And my Straight Talk family, keep moving on. Bye-bye. Until we connect on Thursday.
The morning, I thank God for the morning light. Give Him thanks and praises for taking me safely through the night. For the rest of food and loving care, and for my mother's breath of life that's got me here. So whatever my mind conceives, that I will achieve, you better believe. I do the things I should, be to my brethren kind and good, the best I could. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on, till I reach the top somehow. Down on my knees, the Lord I kneel and pray, my heart and soul, beg Him to take me through each day, my guardian to keep, and my guide, over every step I take, He will preside. So whatever my mind conceives, that I will achieve, believe, because I do the things I should, be to my brethren kind and good, the best I could. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on, till I reach the top somehow. Protects me with His love, strong, pure, and true.
double salary. But PM, where is this coming from? Because here in Antigua and Barbuda, our government has not been able to offer stimulus to Antiguans and Barbudans during COVID, and we keep hearing of all these great initiatives in your country. Have you discovered oil somewhere in Bastia?
I can't say we have discovered oil. Let me say that each country has its own response, but this has been our response. I can't say we don't have oil. Of course, we had some money is put away for a long time now that we would use during a rainy day.